Welcome to USTC360. I'm Adam Lim. Today we bring you to the second part to Jimmy Woo's remarkable story. When we last left off, we had met Jimmy's mentors. However, during the 13.5 years he spent in prison, there was another group of special people who was his pillar of support, Jimmy's family. We are very privileged to have Jimmy speak to us live in Los Angeles. Welcome, Jimmy. First off, I know it's been 3 years already, and you probably get asked this often, but how has it been to live like a free man again?
Hi, Adam. It's truly a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, you're right. I do get asked that question quite often. All I can say is that regaining my freedom has been absolutely surreal. When I first came home, there were actually a few times I was sleeping at night, and I would wake up in the middle of the night thinking that I was in prison still, you know, and that my freedom was just a dream and nothing more. So it was surreal for a little while. It took a while for me to transition back to society. As I'm sure you can imagine, going to prison is literally like going to a different world. It took a lot of time for me to adjust, to be able to communicate with people out here, because the prison language is very different. It's very unique. It was one that I grew up using. So I quickly learned to realize that I couldn't use that same language out here with, let's say, normal people. But I think that regaining my freedom has been one of the biggest pleasures in my life. I really can't say enough about it. After having everything literally taken away from me, I learned not to ever take anything for granted ever again. So freedom, of course, is one thing that I will always cherish and will always value, probably more so than the normal person.
Well, Jimmy, you say one of your biggest regrets was that you were not able to be the big brother you wanted to be for your younger brother, Aaron. Yet, on the contrary, Aaron has never thought you let him down. So, let's meet Aaron.
After all we've been through, I think my brother has changed, and for the better. After he's been out, he's done a lot of great things that, like, a lot of us can only imagine doing. Like, he's very brave, like, sharing his life story to all these people, like, and a lot of them are strangers. So I'm just amazed that he has the courage to do what he does. Before he even told me sorry, like, I really didn't feel like, oh, he wasn't there for me. Because even though he wasn't there for me in person, he was there for me in another, like a kind of like a spiritually way. Because we would still talk on the phone, and we would communicate through letters. So for me, he didn't let me down. I have what is known as Duchenne muscular dystrophy, and it's a disease that affects the muscles in my body. Like it gradually weakens like my muscles before I could walk. But when I was about 8 years old, that's when I was unable to walk. I was speechless, because at one moment I thought I was like a regular kid.
We almost made a decision to let him go, since we were told that he would not have a quality life. He would be bedridden for life. They said that he wouldn't be able to eat or talk, and that he would need to rely on a breathing machine just to live.
It was about 2005. Then, like, I was very sick. I had pneumonia, and then that time was very difficult for me. To tell you the truth, at that moment, I didn't really think I was gonna live for much longer.
His dad was thinking that such a life is worse than death, and that we should just let him go. Since in reality, most patients with this disease don't make it past 20 years old.
When I first went to the ER, they told me like I wasn't going to make it, like I was going to die very soon. And they said if I got the surgery called a tracheostomy, basically they put a tube in my neck, and then this tubing right here that I have on me, and then it helps me breathe and everything. Like I wouldn't be able to breathe on my own anymore. And then they told me, even though I got the surgery, it's like I would still be able to live and everything, but like I wouldn't be able to eat and then talk anymore. So basically, they told me I was gonna be like a vegetable.
Because he was already 16, the doctor needed his approval. Aaron asked us, "Mom, the doctor has said that this will be my future life. But if I can still see you guys, will I be able to see you?" I said to Aaron, "Of course, we will always be by your side." He said, "Great, if I can still see you guys, then I want to live, no matter how it turns out."
So it was very hard at that moment, but I decided in the end that I was still gonna have the surgery because I feel like being alive is better than just letting this flu take me. Because I feel like I have more to offer before I go in this life. Without at least putting up a fight.
Afterwards, we went to rehabilitation. The specialist there taught him how to eat and talk again. That was when we learned that he really could make it. He could still live a normal life. He just has to deal with a lot more inconveniences, and he needs help with many things. That's really the only difference. He can still enjoy his life. Aaron still has a very strong desire to survive.
没害羞。
你最喜欢你妈咪哪一点？
啊，哪一点？
被你欺负。
No， 不是，我不知道。
我很想知道哎。快，你最喜欢妈咪哪一点？
照顾人呀，很仔细，做什么很仔细，不会随随便便。
就是让他很舒服。
When they brought Jimmy's brother to a beauty pageant, I had the chance to meet him. He was very clean and neat and didn't smell at all like someone who had been sick at home for a long time. His stepmother, Grace, was feeding him off to the side. You could tell how she loved the child from the bottom of her heart. I feel that Grace's mother is great too. Her daughter gives her all, caring for a child that is not her own. Grace's mother kept saying that her daughter has a real connection with Aaron and that fate had brought them together. Grace's mother really loves the kid too. You will be very touched by the overwhelming love that they demonstrate by caring for such a severely sick child that is not even their own. Not everyone has that kind of capacity for love.
真的不容易耶，不是每个人可以做到的。
只要一点点。
If his position is even slightly misaligned, he can't move. He can't use his strength, so he has to maintain a certain posture.
姿势，有的时候他甚至跟我讲说，
Sometimes he tells me, "Mommy, move me to the right a little."
像
Just a little, like you're barely moving.
要我动，然后有时候像没动一样。
We spend a long time moving him here and there, up and down.
又放下，就这样子要搞来搞去。
I've seen how hard it is to care for Aaron with his illness. I'm very grateful for Grace and her caring for Aaron for all of these years. It's been more than a decade now.
If I didn't have my stepmother, I don't think I would necessarily have such a certain, like a good life. It felt like, to me, like I had another mom. Just not like a stepmom, but like an actual mom.
Welcome back. So, Jimmy, another turning point during your childhood, besides discovering that your brother had Duchenne muscular dystrophy, was when you learned of your parents' divorce. In addition, you see Grace, who is your stepmother, treats Aaron as her own blood and kin. What is it like to see the strong bond they developed?
It takes an extremely understanding, compassionate, patient, loving person to be able to fully accept and love another person's child as if he or she were their own. And I need to admit that when Grace, my stepmother Grace, first entered our lives, I resented her and I said some of the most horrible things to her because I felt at that time that she was trying to replace my mother. But throughout the years of my incarceration, of course, I grew to understand that instead of resenting her, I needed to appreciate her. I needed to thank her for everything that she did for my brother, for coming into our lives. She was truly a blessing. I truly believe that she was an angel that was sent to us to take care of my brother.
Well, a study in Psychology Today reported that good parenting is not about the destination, but enjoying the journey together, which brings me to the second segment. Let's go hear from Jimmy's biological mother, Su.
Jimmy 从小一个人孤孤单单长大。
Jimmy grew up as a very lonely child. Sometimes when he was eating, he would place his teddy bear next to him and say, "One scoop for me and one scoop for you." Often I would worry about what would happen to Jimmy after I'm gone. He would be so alone.
一个人，所以才决定再生一个给他。
When Aaron was born, Jimmy was so excited. He would help change Aaron's diapers and feed him milk. He loved him so much. It was a great blow for him when we got divorced.
以后好就是对他一个打击。还有现在话又讲。
Thinking back, I was the one who had initiated the divorce. I was the immature one. Even though we were divorced, I still wanted to make life difficult for their father.
过得太好，所以我就没有决定说。
I kept Jimmy with me and gave the younger one to him, just because I thought that it would make it more difficult for him to remarry.
反正他爸爸有小的也不是很容易。
Those were my intentions before I found Jesus.
那时候我也还没有信。
I was very immature.
然后自己也很不 mature， 然后
I had wanted a divorce, but I was very fearful afterwards,
也很害怕，
and it made Jimmy into a very insecure child.
没有安全感。
虽然说他们父母是分开了，可是
Even though the parents were separated, they try their best to allow the brothers to be able to spend time together every week.
两个也能在一起。做父亲的，其实在很多方面
A father is very influential in many aspects to the
会
son.
影响到儿子，而且很多东西可能儿子也希望能够
The children really wanted to spend time with their father, especially for sports.
运动，像那时候常常。
So Jimmy's father used to take Jimmy to play tennis and golf. I remember that he often said, "I feel so lucky and surprised that Jimmy wants to spend time with me on the weekends, playing sports with us and not hanging out with the wrong crowd."
愿意跟我们在一起，好陪着我们一起去打球，没有去。
He felt really relieved by that and was proud of Jimmy.
好像觉得好像还蛮欣慰的，觉得说，哎，我的Jimmy不错。
离婚以后。 经济上很
After the divorce, I wasn't doing very well financially. I only had $2 to spend every day. Jimmy was a very nice kid, but I just couldn't deal with it mentally and emotionally, so I would yell and take my stress out on him for no good reason. He never fought back, but that was bad because he kept it all inside. So finally, when we learned about Aaron's illness, he began showing changes. Especially in the year that 2 of his cousins died on the same day in Taiwan. One of his pregnant cousins died in a motorcycle accident, but her baby survived. The cousin's sister heard about it and on the same day committed suicide by jumping from the 4th floor of a building. He had lost 2 of his cousins. And when Jimmy heard the news, he just couldn't deal with it. Jimmy had always hoped that his parents would reunite. But in the same year, his father married Grace, and he was devastated. I really didn't know what to do when he told me that he felt like our home was cold. Every time he came home, I would yell at him. I didn't like having guests over, so whenever he brought friends home, I would yell at him.
他像他带朋友来我家，我就会骂这样子。
He didn't have anywhere to go, and it was really quite sad. You know, in high school, some gangsters will take advantage and recruit teenagers like him. So I began noticing the changes he showed.
知道，这种人可以被吸收，就是这样，我就觉得他开始有点转变。
那时候可以感觉出来他的外表。
You could tell that he was changing a lot by his appearance.
穿着，他爸爸是
clothing, hairstyle, etc.
很不习惯，那时候把他。
His dad didn't like it at all, so he took him out of school and sent him first back to Taiwan.
时间，然后在这边好像也。
And then to a boarding school in San Diego. In the end, he came back here. His dad was mentally prepared that someday he would get into trouble.
就已经有准备，说不定哪一天就会出事。
我的律师当时是跟我讲 ，Jimmy。
My lawyer had told me, if Jimmy shows any changes, you need to take him away immediately. Go to Northern California or even another state. I asked him, what was I supposed to do? What about money? He said, kids are more important. Just go quickly. Just be a cashier or do any other job, but don't wait. Go before anything big happens. I wouldn't listen anymore. I thought that it was impossible. But in a month, Jimmy was arrested. Before going out that day, he was carrying Aaron in his arms. He told Aaron to be good company for Mom, and that he would be home soon. But he never came back. I got a phone call at 2 or 3 in the morning. It was the La Cañada Police Department calling to tell me that Jimmy had been arrested.
跟我讲 ，Jimmy 出了一点事，被抓了。
对美国移民第一代来讲。
This was a very difficult issue for first-generation immigrants because we didn't have any information about what it's like inside jail. So I was imagining the worst, and his father felt helpless and fearful as well. I recall how he was shaking after hearing about Jimmy. He was shaking in bed even, not knowing what to do.
因为他不知道要怎么办。
那时候我心里也很急。那他请我帮忙的时候，他需要。
I was very anxious as well, but Su was asking for way more money than I could afford. $1 million was just too much money.
是一个很大的数字。
那时候就想用那个 public defender 不要钱。
We had thought about using the free public defender, but brothers and sisters in the evangelical Formosan church told me that there's no such thing as a free lunch. And if we didn't hire a defense attorney, his sentence would be heavier.
不请律师，可能他的判刑会比较重。那就这种情况下，我就去请了律师。
So I hired a lawyer and sold 3 houses in my Mercedes to pay for it.
卖掉，因为要筹这个律师的费用。 那就什么都没有了，从
I lost everything.
车子到什么都没有了。找这个律师对不对？我没有结论，因为我觉得
I still don't know if hiring the lawyer was the right thing to do.
当时律师是跟我讲，你如果站上
The lawyer told me that if the case went to trial, it would be in a Pasadena court and the jury would be biased because the victim was white and old and the defendant was Asian.
妈妈是东方人。 那我们又是 Pasadena court.
He said that if we lost a trial, Jimmy would be found guilty and could be sentenced to 25 years in jail or even life. However, if he pled guilty, it could be reduced to 13 to 15 years, and he could possibly get parole.
这样跟我讲，那如果 plead guilty， 当时我会跟他说 plead guilty 好，是他跟我讲说，13年。
So I told Jimmy to plead guilty.
到最后不需要服刑那么多。
Who knew that the sentence would turn out to be 19 years?
怎么知道认罪以后，所有的地有是
We negotiated down to 15 years, and he was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months, with 85% of it to be served in jail.
所以他要服刑。
That was more than the 13 years that we had originally thought he would get.
就比我们想象中长好多年了。
有一年 Christmas， 他妈妈为了去看他，一个人开很远。
One year on Christmas, Jimmy's mother drove a long way to visit him. That night, she sat in the hotel, drowning her sorrows in alcohol. Others had wondered if she was in trouble or even suicidal, so I knew how difficult it was for his mother.
我第一次去看他，跟着我父母跟我哥哥他们。
The first time I visited him, I went with my parents and older brother.
回来。
After visiting Jimmy, we couldn't sleep that night when we got back.
小孩子跟一群大人。
It was like watching a baby being thrown into a crowd of adults. It looked as though he would be eaten alive, because those people were real gangsters. They were so tall and strong, while my kid looked so tiny.
很渺小，跟他们比起来。哦，然后我们要走的时候，看到
When we were about to leave, Jimmy looked so helpless and needy. After that, I asked my church friends to pray for him.
教会的人一直为他祷告。
I could feel her pain. I mean, I met some of the other boys' mothers, and you could just feel that they felt maybe like disappointment or guilt, that they, felt that they were responsible. But she always seemed very supportive, very loving, very concerned. Another stereotype or another perception, you think, oh, these parents don't care about these kids, or the parents are bad parents. So it's nice, it was nice to see that, they're normal parents, they're good parents, they want, what's best for their kids. And even if they're here, they're still willing to support and love their kids. So we don't always see that, but, it does happen, and that's nice to see, because then you realize, they're just like your mom and dad.
Jimmy 的事情，我觉得是另外的一种。
Jimmy's problems were actually a blessing in disguise for me. If that had not happened, I wouldn't have opened my eyes in order to see other people. Because of that incident, I began to see so many people around me. They didn't judge me for what Jimmy did, but instead supported me and helped me a lot. Someday, when I am back on my feet, I will give back this love and care to others.
Jimmy, you were too young to understand that your mom was going through economic trouble and emotional difficulties after their separation. Do you feel your parents' situation contributed to your actions during adolescence, which led to your incarceration?
Wow, Adam, that is such a difficult question. I don't blame my parents for my incarceration, because I am my own person. I have my own decisions to make, my own choices in life.
Then, what is family to you now?
Family to me is absolutely everything. Without my incarceration, we definitely wouldn't be the family that we are now. I wouldn't really know what unconditional love truly means. They showed me unconditional love throughout all my years away. And I love them with everything I have, from the very bottom of my heart. And I know they love me just as strongly in return. So, yeah, my family's everything.
Jimmy, our team is really grateful to you and your family for allowing us into your lives, so thank you. And for all of you at home, Jimmy's extraordinary life story doesn't end here, so stay with us. I'm Adam Lim, and I'll see you next time.
给他哥哥 best brother， 然后你看他这个还比我的大，因为表示他哥哥在 Aaron 心中是非常。